Paul, good workout today?
Absolutely. A real test, understandably, against a team that is in our league, and that's kind of what we've just said to the players. It doesn't matter to me whether they're favourites for promotion, what riches they have, certainly for the league that we're in. They are a team that we're going to come up against twice in the league, obviously in the Bristol Motors competition as well. But you have to, be honest as well and say some real quality on show. So it was a really big test for the players. One that we knew we'd have far less of the ball than last week at Brackley, and I'm okay with that. I think the next two coming up probably be very similar as well. But sometimes you find out a little bit more, and we need to be tested. So there are positives to take, but you have to say, we were against an extremely good team today. And
nice, I'm sure, to get a couple of the new signings involved today, Luca Hall and Tommy O'Reilly in the first half.
Yeah, like I said, I think a lot of players have done some positive things out there. Again, obviously fitness is always a big takeaway from these games, and some lads have probably played the full game that in an absolute ideal world wouldn't have, but needs must. Trying to manage it the best we can in terms of what numbers we have, but it's very early days, and again, I promise you that's not excuses. That's people getting to know the teammates, how they play. We discussed that yesterday at the end of training, as in, just an example, Tommy O'Reilly gets the ball in certain areas. I think there's certain movements you make. A different player gets it, Tom Bloxham gets it. You're probably going to expect something different. But that, I know that. We had an example last weekend at Brackley. George Loyes wins a header, no one runs beyond, and someone turns around on the bench and says he's good in the air. Well, obviously I'm fully aware of that, and some of the players are, and some aren't yet. But very quickly they'll get to know that, and that again is part of a new group coming together.
No Toby Savin once again today, a couple of trialist goalkeepers and a half each. What's the situation with Toby? Is he close, and can you tell us anything about the trialist goalkeepers?
No, not really. Sorry. Toby, we kind of, when we signed him, nothing's sort of amiss there. Everything is how we expected. Toby's gradually getting fitter. We'll see how it goes next week, to whether he won't be involved Tuesday night. But as I said, that was our understanding anyway. We obviously need more than just Toby on the books, so we're having a look at a couple of keepers, and in due course I'm sure we'll let you know what those decisions are.
You've got some attractive fixtures, some tough fixtures in pre-season. Was this something you deliberately set out to do in terms of the opposition? You've got Derby next weekend and Premier League opposition in Leicester on Tuesday.
No, we could, and I mean this respectfully, because I know, like, in terms of a scoreline, which it matters to a degree. I'm not going to say it doesn't matter at all, but ultimately we are looking at performances and how the team are learning and taking things on board from the training pitch onto the game day. But we could set out and play sort of opposition that we believe we would beat most times all through pre-season, and people say, you've won, you scored a few goals. I'm not sure you learn as much that way, in all honesty. So more than happy with the schedule that we've got, but it is tough for the players when you're playing against a quality like we have today. Tuesday is in reality another step up to that, but it shows players the standards. It shows players why they need to be fit, and it's also a bit of a learning. I thought today we were poor in terms of when the ball went dead. Thought we kind of switched off a little bit. Now whether that's getting used to being back in game mode, but they had made a big emphasis. You could hear it, from the sidelines, but they wanted to start play again really fast. Now if you do that, you're trying to catch the opposition, not let them get back into their shape, etc. To counter that, you've got to be switched on all the time, and that's, as well as the physical hard work, it's hard work mentally. And when you're without the ball again for long periods, you've got to find that desire and that character, that fight. And again, that's something as a team and a squad we're going to have this season. So, again, that's learnings for them. There's messages and things we can discuss with them after the game and in more detail, perhaps Monday and through the week. But again, that's what you get when you play better opposition. So more than happy to have that challenge in front of us and hopefully learn from it.
It's fantastic to see George Nurse back out there again. Played at Brackley, played for a bit longer today. How is he?
Seems fine. I think he was nervous last weekend, which was understandable, especially when you take into context the timing of the previous injury, that first pre-season game back. And the more that he gets out on the pitch, I'm sure the more confident and comfortable he'll feel. So there has to be an understanding to a degree on our part, but at the same time, we need him to be at it if he's going to come into consideration to be in that starting 11, because I can't pick a team on sympathy or anything like that. It's got to be who deserves to be out there. But really pleased for him, because I only saw a portion of it, but the hard work from the end of January to the end of the season, and to now be out there and training every day must be a big bonus for him as well as ourselves.
The playing surface, the pitch, which looks in fantastic condition, are my eyes deceiving me, or is it bigger this season? Is it bigger than it was?
No, we want it bigger. It's been lengthened. We need to widen it a little bit more. That's something. We just had a bit of a crossover in terms of ground staff, so it'll be a little bit wider come the start of the season. And in terms of the pitch, it helped when the rain came. There's still some work for that. The lads are working hard on it, and not through their fault, but there's still a little bit of improvement to go on the pitch. But it played well, it looked good. Always helps when the sun's shining initially, and then, like I say, a bit of rain on it helps move the ball around, particularly for the opposition today. But we had a couple of chances, a couple of moments, and I think that's another part of learning is the importance of taking them chances when they come along, because you're not going to get as many against the top teams. So you have to try and get that ruthless streak, within you. We had a couple of goals ruled out, offside for one. Maybe Harrison could have struck the first shot better, but shows he was there. That's one of his strengths certainly. And then the corner, I haven't seen it. Not going to get too upset about it, but it's one of those maybe that the goalkeeper gets, and perhaps he shouldn't at times.
In terms of your squad, are you pleased with how it's all coming together? 2 more additions over the last week.
Yeah, it's, I've said right from going back to the fixture announcement breakfast. I said we'd have to be patient. It tests my own patience. However, we're getting there gradually. We obviously still trying and looking. And waiting on a couple of things to see if we can get a couple more through and joining the group. But we are adding numbers, and that's the importance. We're not looking to have the biggest squad anyway. And this pre-season and this probably the one thing in terms of schedule is just a bit tougher now because we've got we go Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday. So we're trying to look after players to a degree, but at the same time, they're having to get some of them the minutes out in games, but we don't want to really drop the training too much because of the importance of that as well.
What's the situation with Jack Price, who was obviously at the club at the end of last season? I think you said he was welcome to come and join in pre-season. Has he done that? Is he still potentially part of your plans moving forward?
No, I don't think so. He was invited back. He didn't come in, so we haven't sort of seen or heard from him. So I think that sort of says where that situation's at.
There's been speculation suggesting that John Nolan, who had such a fantastic season here under you a few years ago, has been training with the squad. Is that the case? Anything you can tell us about that, Paul?
Yeah, I think everyone saw a picture. I'm not going to deny it. It's not an old picture. It's not been edited to sort of put a cat amongst the pigeons. He has been training with us, but as you've seen, he hasn't been involved in the games. We're trying to help John in one sense, and I don't want to go into too much detail, but is certainly around him as a person and what we think of him, etc. So yeah, he has been training with us.
Do you anticipate another busy week in terms of
busy week football? Yeah,
busy week of football.
Busy week football.
In terms of signings.
Yeah, of course. As I said, we're trying, and as we move closer to the start of the season, we've got to certainly make the effort to try and get more bodies in. But it still applies, as in we can't just take people that aren't, we sign them and then sort of 3-4 games in, or maybe even quicker, go, we're not really good enough. That's to it. We've got to at least get people in that we, believe in, that fit for us, obviously. So yeah, we will certainly be trying until probably the transfer window closes. Ideally, we're all settled before then, and we don't have to have, a silly last day. But ultimately, that is sort of the time frame you've got to bring players in. But we could do with a few more to, bolster the squad, but also in terms of competition as well. Big believer in that. We need competition in all areas. Don't like anyone to feel too comfortable. That might not work for everyone, but that's the type of squad that I want, where people have to be on the toes, and when someone's not quite at it, we can bring someone in, they take their opportunity, and then the other person, if they're the right character, which we're hoping to have, then they just work harder again, and that helps push standards.